All right, I've got a big 49ers update for you. Guess who is returning to practice tomorrow? When the 49ers resume training camp, block 2, it is going to be this guy, Ricky Pearsall, who already was moving very well, as you can see here, during the first 3 practices of 49ers training camp. Wasn't hurt anymore to begin training camp, but the 49ers wanted to build him up endurance wise so he'd have as good of a chance as possible of not re aggravating the hamstring to begin this 2025 season. So there was a lot of insane, unnecessary freaking out about Ricky Pearsall being placed on PUP, but that was residual from the hamstring strain that he suffered during OTAs. He entered relatively healthy when he showed up to the team facility a few days ahead of training camp, but he still had to build himself up before the return, which should happen at practice tomorrow. Other 49ers news has just dropped. The 49ers have tried out 3 offensive tackles and 2 edge rushers. Why, you may ask? Well, there are several potential reasons, and we're probably going to learn that from Kyle Shanahan tomorrow. But there is a chance that somebody like Andre Dillard, who currently is on the physically unable to perform list, a competitor for the 49ers swing tackle position, there is a chance that his return is not imminent. And if that's the case, well, then the 49ers will need another tackle, or another tackle on this roster is dealing with something, and the 49ers need more depth to get through these practices. Same thing for the defensive end position. Anyway, the 5 players who they've worked out, you might have heard of a couple of these guys because there is a veteran tackle who's won a couple Super Bowls as part of this mix. It's Cam Fleming, the Stanford product. I know Cam from back in the Stanford days. He's 32 years old, won 2 Super Bowls with the Patriots, been with a bunch of teams over the course of his NFL career, most recently the Denver Broncos last season. Cam Fleming, one of the 49ers workouts. They've got a younger tackle in Connor Galvin. He's 25 years old, and Lucas Niang, 26 years old. Lucas has got a really interesting story. He's French and he is American. Spent a couple years in Geneva, which is actually in Switzerland, but it's in the French-speaking part of Switzerland when he grew up, and then came back to the U.S. One of his parents is from the Ivory Coast, and the other one of his parents is from France, and he speaks both of those languages. Anyway, Lucas Niang, 26-year-old offensive tackle, one of the 3 offensive tackles who has worked out for the 49ers today. And then there's Trevis Gibson and Jalen Allen. Those are 2 edge rushers that have worked out for the 49ers today. Gibson had 7 sacks back in 2021 when he was playing for the Bears, most recently with the Seattle Seahawks. And Jalen Allen most recently was playing in one of those secondary professional leagues. He's still a younger edge rusher, went to college at Memphis. We will see if Jalen Allen is one of those speed rushers, 245 pounds. So they think he probably has a good get off. We'll see if he impresses the 49ers enough to grab a roster spot. Now, if you want a little bit of a better look at how all this might work and why the 49ers might need to work players out at both the tackle and the defensive end positions, I think that a look at the 49ers depth chart is in order. I think on this day off from 49ers training camp, it's always good to reset with a look at the depth chart. Anyway, we can also see where Ricky Pearsall slots into everything for the 49ers. So here we go. If we first zoom in on the offensive line, then we could see where the 49ers have reported injuries, and we could see what the depth in general at that position looks like. So here I'm highlighting the offensive line really briefly for you. You've got Andre Dillard shaded in pink here because he's still on PUP. They said that they expected that to be a relatively short PUP stay, but again, you never know. And there could have been a setback. I'm not saying there was. I'm just speculating here as to why the 49ers worked out 3 offensive tackles. Obviously, he's behind Trent Williams and Colton McKivitz, who are the 49ers' 2 starting tackles. Remember that Spencer Burford is no longer a guard. Spencer Burford is playing exclusively tackle for San Francisco. So he's right now the swing tackle at these practices with Dillard being unavailable. It could just be that the 49ers want to spruce up the quality of depth there while Dillard is out. They also have Austin Pleasance as one of the candidates and Sebastian Gutierrez. Then there's Isaac Alarcon for San Francisco. Those are the tackles on this 49ers roster as we speak. If we go to the defensive end position, obviously Nick Bosa and Michael Williams at the top, but Yetur Gross-Matos, remember, he is on PUP with a knee issue. They also have said they expected this to be a shorter term PUP stay, but just in case that's turned into something that's going to take a little bit longer, maybe that is why we have seen the 49ers take a look at two defensive ends, edge rushers, Trevis Gibson and Jalen Allen. Jalen Allen's a lighter edge rushing type, by the way, and Trevis Gibson, he's closer to 270 pounds, between 260 and 270, a little bit closer to Yetur Gross-Matos body-wise. There are two types of edges, right? You've got your Bosa Gross-Matos type, somebody who's going to be around 270, who can set an edge against the run, a 3-down edge rusher. And then you have your Bryce Huff type. That's somebody who's going to be under 250 pounds, who's not known for setting an edge against the run and is probably just going to be a pass rushing specialist. The 49ers have two of those on the roster right now in Bryce Huff and Robert Beal Jr. Then they have a lot of multi-purpose defensive ends on the roster, starting with Nick Bosa, continuing with Michael Williams. That's somebody who they obviously expect to be playing on 3 downs, shuffling between the outside and the inside. And they have worked out one of each in Trevis Gibson, bigger body, and Jalen Allen, the slightly smaller body. So that is what we're looking at for San Francisco in terms of the workout today. If you want to take a look at the edge rushing room, Sam Okawanu has been filtering in a little bit for the 49ers at the edge rushing position with the ones. Remember, Okawanu splashed onto the scene last year. It was one of the feel-good stories of last season. So keep an eye on him. I think that he is going to make the 53-man roster based on the rotations that I've seen so far. In fact, the projection I have for the 53-man roster, I've got 10 defensive linemen making it. I just highlighted those 10. The guys here on the other side, I'm not as sure about. But, you know, injuries happen. There currently is one to Yetur Gross-Matos. Those would immediately open up another spot. And then there are players like Kalia Davis, who many are wondering about, Robert Beal Jr., who many are wondering about. And after I posted yesterday's instant reaction, I got more than one comment about the undrafted free agent rookie, Sebastian Valdez. Montana State, then he transferred to Washington to finish his college career. And I will tell you that Sebastian Valdez is built like he belongs. You can go watch any of the instant reactions that I put up because I've got some highlights yesterday's. Well, I took a look at the defensive lineman hitting the sled in that drill right in front of us with Chris Kasarik yelling. And a lot of people said, Sebastian Valdez, 55, that guy looks like he's ready to play right now. Almost a forgotten addition to the 49ers this year because there was so much press and so much fanfare surrounding the 3 drafted defensive linemen, Michael Williams, Alfred Collins, CJ West. But they actually brought in 4 rookie defensive linemen. You cannot forget about Sebastian Valdez coming in at about 300 pounds. CJ West is even bigger than him. And I posted a video up on X a little bit earlier today, and it was just a snippet of the video that I posted yesterday here on the channel. So if you're already following along here, you probably get everything first. But I posted this video of CJ West, his get off. I mean, this guy, they pair you in those sled drills, right? Where you have to hit the sled. They pair defensive tackles with defensive ends. And one of the big questions from a lot of these talent evaluators entering the season or entering this training camp was, does CJ West have a quick enough get off? We know that he succeeded in college. But does he have a quick enough get off? And I have to pull up this video. Maybe Mike can send it to me in a second because I don't want to have to cut it right now. But the pairing for him, and I think Chris Kasarik did this on purpose, was with Bryce Huff, who has one of the fastest get-offs in the whole NFL. So they pair a defensive tackle in CJ West, basically the opposite end of the spectrum from a speed-oriented edge rusher like Bryce Huff. They pair those two guys on the sled together. And I thought that CJ West's get off basically matched Bryce Huff's. We have the video right now. Let me get this out for you so we can very, very quickly play it. Take a look at this. I just posted it on X, so you can go ahead and follow me there. We're checking it out right now. West is on the right. They're going to go one more rep at this, and then I'll replay it for you. But West is on the right. Huff with his great get off is on the left. Do you see any difference between those two? We're going to go one more time. West and Bryce Huff. 47 is Bryce Huff, one of the fastest get-offs in the NFL. There was a question about CJ West's get-off, and I don't think there's a question about his get-off based on this drill. So just a very, very positive early indicator when we look at what CJ West has been able to do at 49ers practice. Thank you, Mike. I really, really appreciate that. Hopefully, was there sound on that? Hopefully not, because if there was sound, you guys probably wouldn't have heard me. No, there wasn't. Good. I was a little afraid there was, sometimes when you're talking on the mic and there's sound in the video on the background, it completely cancels out what the mic is doing. All right. There's a big article I have up on position battles. We're going to talk about 49ers position battles right now. And while you're here, while I have your attention, do not miss the Jim Cotta interview video. That is one of the longest pieces that we've ever uploaded here onto the channel. And it's awesome. This guy used to be the head strength and conditioning coach of the Lakers during the glory years. So he had Shaq, he had Kobe Bryant, and then a little bit later on, I think this was toward the tail end of the glory years, maybe after them, Dennis Rodman came over for a little bit to the Lakers, and Jim Cotta worked with him. He worked with Terrell Owens. Terrell's son, Tariq Owens, is now with the 49ers. It is a perfect discussion for this time of the year, because we talked all about build up in the offseason, how to stay healthy, hamstring injuries. You've seen a few of those with the 49ers, I'm sure, if you followed this team for any stretch of time. And that seems to be in the news here very recently as well for San Francisco. Ricky Pearsall is going to be returning tomorrow from a hamstring injury. So the day before Ricky Pearsall's return, I think it's a good idea to check out this interview with Jim Cotta. It really is exclusive content on this channel, the type of stuff you're not going to get anywhere else. So cordon off some time, write it down in your notebook. Don't leave this video right now, but bookmark that, say that you're going to return to it. I think it's content that you will really, really enjoy. Fun stuff with Jim Cotta. We did that back in the Nashville studio. And guess where we're at right now? We're back. We're reopening the San Francisco studio for the season. First few days of training camp, I stayed down closer to the stadium in a hotel, just so cut down on drag, right? I think Jim Harbaugh, back when I think this was when he was with the 49ers, had a new bathroom installed right by the coach's office to cut down on drag. He didn't have to want to walk down the entire hallway, because that would have been a little too much time taken off of game planning purposes. So anyway, to reduce drag, we stayed in a hotel not that far from Levi's Stadium for the first 3 days. Crushed the coverage. Happy that you're here with us, but we have to move into the San Francisco studio at some point. We got faster internet here too, so we won't have any issues with that. This is the spot that we've been broadcasting from during the season for the past 2 seasons, I think, maybe 3 seasons already. I think the past 2. We did 2023 and 2024 from the studio. I remember because when the 49ers traded for Christian McCaffrey, we were still in the former studio in San Francisco. So we've gotten the technology moving on the up and up year after year. Okay, so 49ers work out those 5 players. Ricky Pearsall is going to be returning tomorrow. Ricky, this is such a big season for Ricky and for the 49ers needing Ricky Pearsall. I mean, this is how they drew it up, right? You draft him in 2024, but you keep both Brandon Ayuk and Deebo Samuel for that rookie season, meaning you didn't put pressure on Ricky Pearsall to dominate, take over as a rookie. He didn't need to do that last year. Unfortunately, the 49ers didn't calculate the near tragedy that happened right before the start of the season. That set Ricky Pearsall back. But in the larger picture, they, once they saw those injuries, of course, they needed everybody to step up last year. But in the larger picture, they weren't looking at 2024 to be a high pressure season for Ricky Pearsall. But they were pointing toward 2025 to be the year where they really needed him, because they were only going to keep one of the two, Brandon Ayuk or Deebo Samuel, past 2024. Obviously, they extended Ayuk. Deebo Samuel is now in Washington. The offense is evolving to fit what Brock Purdy needs. What your elite quarterback needs are separators. That's how a good offense operates. They're going to be throwing the football downfield. They need guys to beat man coverage. They drafted Ricky Pearsall because of his route running ability and their belief in him to beat man coverage. We got excellent indications of Ricky Pearsall's positive development to close the 2024 season. The last two times that we've seen him on a football field for a game, the final two games of the 2024 season, 18 targets, 13 catches, 210 receiving yards, and a couple touchdowns for Ricky Pearsall. Any other player delivers that to close their rookie season, there's a lot of hype entering their second season. For whatever reason, there have been a lot of doubts surrounding Ricky Pearsall entering this second season, but I'm just going to stick with the facts. The last time that we saw him play a game on a football field, the last two times that we saw him play a game on the football field, he absolutely lit it up. So I don't know why people shouldn't be anticipating more good stuff coming from Ricky Pearsall moving forward. Now, what happened 3 games ago? I talk about the last 2 games being really good for Ricky Pearsall against the Lions and then back home against the Arizona Cardinals. 3 games ago, that was at the Dolphins. And that's where Leonard Hankerson, the 49ers receivers coach, chewed Ricky Pearsall out on the sideline after the formation penalty. You guys remember that? I think it might have even been 2 formation penalties. It was a rough afternoon and evening at the office for the rookie Ricky Pearsall. But perhaps it's not coincidental that as soon as that was behind him, as soon as his own position coach chewed him out there in front of all the TV cameras on the sideline, Ricky Pearsall kicked it into gear. Sometimes as a rookie, you need that wake-up moment. It's not going to happen easily for rookies, not in this league. But Ricky Pearsall went through those growing pains last year, and now he's going to return to the practice field for the 49ers tomorrow. Going to be very, very exciting stuff for San Francisco, because they definitely need a receiver to bolster what they have going on in that room right now. All right, we got sandwich of the day, the M Stop. This is where I just was. This is my first day back in San Francisco, so I went out to that Balboa Park area where they've got a new bench with the Giants logo. That's Montana and Rice, by the way, on the Muni train. But this is what we got: the pastrami, the turkey. Sal and all the guys, big 49ers fans, they say hello. This place is blowing up, by the way, and it's in the running to be the best sandwich in San Francisco. That video, I promise, I know it's been a long time coming, but that video is going to be dropping very, very soon. I believe this was the P line that I got from the M stops. They have the different lines of the Muni, which is San Francisco's public transit, which Joe Montana and Jerry Rice are riding right there. And so you could get, there is the M line, there is the L line, there is the T line, I believe, but this one has pastrami and turkey. Really, really good. So go ahead, say hi to Sal and the guys at the M Stop on this beautiful Saturday. Nice and overcast in the city. It's been the coldest summer in San Francisco since 1982. So, and I think that the Bay Area has been a little bit cooler as well, because we go out down to the training camp and we have not roasted yet. The warmest it was yesterday, but it wasn't like summer heat. It was more like a warmer spring day than anything, which is welcome for training camp. I'm used to training camp being like 95 degrees, and then I just drive back to the city and I drive back into an air conditioner. It's actually quite nice after you've been sweating out at 49ers practice. You go back into the 62-degree weather. It's like the largest air conditioner in the world is the Pacific Ocean, and it does a really, really good job cooling San Francisco, the city itself, off over the course of some of these hot summers. In Santa Clara, that's more of a desert climate. You're further inland. You got to drive down about an hour. I could make it in 42 minutes, but we'll say about an hour. And that's the Bay Area microclimates at work for everyone involved. All right, there's a look at our roster. I am opening this up now to a 49ers Q&A. I'm just looking for my text title. There we go. Let's talk. San Francisco has made some. Oh, Mike says that my mic is in focus. This is really funny. So we're opening up the studio today, and I guess I'm not in firm focus. Oh, wow. Here, hold on. Let's fix this. Is that better? That's better. Now I'm in focus, right? Growing pains of opening up the new studio. Is that better, Mike? Mike and Mike. Perfect. It works. Sorry about that, guys. That might be annoying on your 4K TVs, but it's okay. We got the news across anyway. It's something like there's just like this little, it's not, I don't see myself on the big screen, so I can't tell if I'm out of focus or not, but I think that looks a lot better. So we'll be fine now, and we can open up the 49ers Q&A. It wasn't blurry because it's 480 pixels. We're full 1080p. It was blurry because my optical lens was focusing on the microphone instead. But that just sometimes it happens. Sometimes you've got to get stuff set up, and unfortunately, I didn't notice until right now. Wow, you think that Ricky Pearsall is going to go for 75 catches, 1,100 yards, and 9 touchdowns? That would help a lot of people's fantasy teams, I'm sure. I'm sure Ricky Pearsall will be on some fantasy teams. Larger role with the 49ers. Will I swim this week at the Dolphin Club? Yes, but it's been a while since I've been in cold water, so I got to build up the courage. I think I've lost that layer of yellow fat, the polar bear fat that I did that big swim out to Alcatraz right before I left for the summer, and now I've got to get back on the grind. Although that helps me big time. It just helps you focus, and I think that you just got to tough it out. And I think that's going to lead to better 49ers training camp coverage. See, we're back in 4K, 1080p, 4K, same thing. We are the first 49ers channel that does all of its uploads in 4K. So this is a live, but when we do uploads, and most of our stuff is uploads, like the stuff from the helmet, it comes to you in 4K. That's one of the reasons why it looks so much better than anyone else's channel. But I digress. Thank you for bringing to my attention that I was out of focus to begin this video. Joe thinks that both Pearsall and Jennings will be over 1,000 yards and 18 TDs, like 18 TDs each, 36 touchdowns between, and you say over, so like what, 40 touchdowns between Jennings and Pearsall? That would be insane. I think that would mean that Brock Purdy would have a chance at the NFL single season touchdown record, because George Kittle's going to have a few. Christian McCaffrey's going to have a few. I don't know if Pearsall and Jennings are both going to have 18 touchdowns. I think the 49ers would have one of the greatest offenses in NFL history if that was the case. Okay, combined. I got it. Still fun to think about, right? 18 each for Pearsall and Jawan Jennings. Will Nick Zakelj ever start? Well, I could tell you this. Nick Zakelj is getting first-team reps right now, all of them at left guard. Why? Well, because Ben Barch is on the non-football injury list. He should be back soon, but Here's the depth chart. There's Barch shaded at left guard in that injury color. So Zakel is the man right behind him. Other candidates for the left guard spot include Matt Hennessy, who's also a center, and Connor Colby, who I've got listed as the backup right guard, rookie. Drew Moss, potentially as well. Maybe I should put Moss over on that left side. So I think that Zakel right now has the inside track as long as Ben Barch is out. I entered camp and I still think that Barch is the favorite to start, but it's dependent on health for Ben Barch. He was the first guy up last year when Aaron Banks went down at left guard, but he played less than 2 games, Ben Barch did, because he suffered a high ankle sprain. And health has been an issue for Ben Barch at every single step, between the dislocated knee that he had in Jacksonville to the high ankle sprain that he had with the 49ers last year to the quad injury that he suffered while working out here over the course of the past month or so. That's been an issue for Ben Barch. He has to show that he can stay available. Rebecca hopes that Isaiah Nair makes the roster. If Nair continues making catches like the one that he did on Thursday, if he makes a few more of those, well, a few more, maybe if he makes one more of those, it's going to be really hard to keep him if you waive him, right? To put somebody like that on the practice squad, you actually have to expose him to the rest of the league. You have to waive him. He has to clear waivers. Then you could re-sign him to the practice squad. So somebody like Isaiah Nair, who was one of the best athletes in the whole 2025 rookie class, if you combine that with what we've already seen, a great catch and then just more success at 49ers training camp, it's going to be very, very hard to see him potentially clearing waivers. So if you can't clear waivers and the 49ers are thin in the receiving room, if there are still injury issues, which there should be, because Brandon Ayuk probably is not going to be ready for week 1, well, then Isaiah Nair has a really, really good chance to make the football team. You know what else? Demarcus Robinson, if he's suspended for the first couple games, all of a sudden, between him and Ayuk, you will have at least 2 of the 49ers stalwart receivers unavailable for the very start of the season. So what that does is it opens up a couple of roster spots that San Francisco might be able to use for Isaiah Nair, somebody like Isaiah Nair. He's not guaranteed that spot, though. He's an undrafted rookie. He has to continue proving it. He's got about a month and 1 week to continue proving it. The cut downs at the very end of March or early September. I don't know what the exact date is, but that's when it always falls. So there is opportunity in this 49ers receiver room, opportunity that probably hasn't been there for several years. In fact, I wrote about some of the battles. I've already written about the receiver battle, so I stayed away from that one in this piece, but this is what you have to check out. It's up on the San Francisco Standard right now. I'm actually going to ask Mike to go ahead and copy and paste the link. Maybe I could even put the link into the description myself, or I can't put it into the description. Mike, if you can toss it into the description, I'll put it into the chat as we speak. But this article is up right now. The best battles of 49ers camp are about to roar. Here they are. And I'm going to go into the comment section, put it in there. There's the copy. There's the paste. Okay. So I know that's not clickable on the screen, but if you go into the chat section, you can go ahead and check it out. That is the link to this article. Everybody needs to do 2 things right now. You need to turn on the notifications for all of my videos. Like, hit the notification bell right now, because that's going to let you know when our world famous instant reactions from the helmet are live. They come out a few minutes after every practice. They're all the rage. We're getting like 40,000 people to watch each one, which is really, really cool. We're setting all kinds of viewership records. It's funny because Mike and I were like, when did we start this instant reaction thing? We started it 2 years ago when Brandon Ayuk and Fred Warner fought at practice, and I walked off the field and I did a reaction walking off the field, and it got 66,000 views. So we were like, okay, we're just going to do instant reactions after every practice. And that first instant reaction video was about 1 minute and 50 seconds long. It was like a little 2-minute drill. But over time, we were like, hey, people want the information of what happened in practice. Why don't I just give them 10 minutes, 15 minutes of information? Here's what happened at practice. So I got my organized chaos notebook, right? So I write down a bunch of stuff. I commit a lot of it to memory, and I just sit there. And we started doing it in front of the helmet, and I tell you guys what happened in practice. So anyway, turn on the notification bell because you'll be the first to the instant reaction videos if you do that. And don't miss the Jim Cotta interview, because that's the opposite of an instant reaction. That's like literally a 98-minute sit down interview with somebody who's worked with Kobe, somebody who's worked with Shaq, somebody who's worked with T.O., great insight on Christian McCaffrey, get great insight on George Kittle. It's great insight on 49ers training camp and strength and conditioning and injury management and injury prevention in general. You will be a smarter fan if you take the time to listen to that Jim Cotta interview. That one came out for members ahead of time. I think that we've had that up for about a week. So if you're a member of the channel, you get access to that kind of cool stuff, which is really unique in 49ers coverage before everyone else. If you aren't a member, you got to wait. That's fine. But if you are a member, you also support the channel in a big way. So we do appreciate you. Ricky Pearsall return is upon us. The best battles of 49ers camp are about to roar. There they are. Now, let me go back to some of these questions. Oh, this is a good one. Russell Gage looks ready to go. This is according to Joe. Yeah, Russell Gage, we talk about opportunities seized. Isaiah Nair made a nice catch the other day. I get it. He's going to get a lot of the hype. He's the young guy. He's the great athlete. The fanfare is there. Don't ignore, don't sleep on Russell Gage, 29-year-old receiver who has been with the Falcons, vet in this league. He has caught more passes over the first 3 practices, this first block of 49ers training camp. He has caught more passes than anyone else on the football team, including a really, really slick grab that we saw the other day. I mean, this was one of the better grabs in all of 49ers training camp. So I'm going to save this and find a way to get it up on the screen. Mike just sent it to me. We have to get it up off of WhatsApp, though. It was a diving catch. Mike, it won't let me save it, so I don't know what to do. Can you send it again? It says it's no longer available. I think the people want to watch Russell Gage make this catch. Maybe Mike is going to send this again, and then we could get it up onto the screen. But it was this diving catch, beautiful catch off of a bullet from Brock Purdy. And hopefully at some point we're able to get this up on the screen. Here, Mike just sent it again. All right, I think we have it this time. Drum roll, please. Russell Gage. Here we go. All right, perfect. I love this. Here he is. Here's Brock Purdy. Steps into this one. It's a bullet moving faster than the camera can pan. And look at Russell Gage just pluck that ball out of the air. Look at George Kittle. Look how excited he is. This is one of the many catches that we've seen Russell Gage make. And then he gets right up and he starts running because nobody touched him down. There's no tackling to the ground, but I think it's just a good habit from Russell Gage. You know, when you look at the injuries in this room and the potential suspension for Demarcus Robinson, there comes a point where the 49ers are going to need to make sure the floor is high enough if veteran guys are missing some time at the start of the year. So you can talk all you want about young guys and potential and ceiling. And I know that those are the words that we use to describe Isaiah Nair. Those are the words that we use to describe Tariq Owens. Those are the words that we use to describe Jordan Watkins, speedster, Jacob Cowing, who happens to be out right now, but ceiling is real there, right? The guy's explosive. That's like 4 guys where we're just talking about ceiling all day. But at some point, you also need to worry about floor. And that's where your older, more proven veterans can come in and deliver. At the very start of all this, or even going back to last year, it was really hard to see where Russell Gage could have a spot to perform on this 49ers team. But now again, following the Brandon Ayuk injury, following the Deebo Samuel trade, following the Demarcus Robinson signing, and the signing that came with the possibility or even the likelihood of suspension following the Jacob Cowing hamstring injury. All of a sudden, you're looking at somebody like Russell Gage and saying that the 49ers might really need him to bridge a gap for them early in the season. And he's gone out there over the first 3 practices and he's caught 8 or 9 passes. I mean, it's a good 2 or 3 catches per practice for Russell Gage. He's showing up. He's showing up with multiple different quarterbacks. He's catching the ball coming from Brock Purdy. So remember that name. Write it down. Russell Gage. We could talk about Nair. We can talk about Ayuk. We can talk about Jennings. You talk about everybody else all you want, but Russell Gage is the one with the most catches so far in 49ers training camp. The Purdy Drew Brees comparison. I love it. I think that there's a lot to be said about it. I think that the way that Brock processes the game, combined with the fact that he's not the tallest quarterback ever, there is some of Drew Brees in him. Now, Brees never moved as well as Brock Purdy can move. Brock Purdy can really, really cook with his legs. We know that. And I think that's what gives him such immense potential, because he can deliver off schedule in ways that very few quarterbacks can. And it's something that Purdy didn't start to really get credit for from people outside of this channel until last year, when the 49ers had such limitations offensively due to the injuries that he had to run a little bit more, that he had to buy a little bit more time scrambling. But when he needs to move, Brock Purdy can move. And I think that's such an incredible asset to his game that very few quarterbacks, especially ones that process as well as him, have in their toolbox. All right, I like this. Dan Nelson says the Junior Bergen is going to surprise everybody. You know, one thing I want to say here, I'm reminded of this for whatever reason. As these shows, I know this is a manageably sized show. It's not like we've got 2,000 people in here. There should be shows coming up soon this year when there's like true big breaking news that are going to be much, much bigger. I'm going to be trying to get to questions as much as I possibly can over the course of every show. But when they get larger, I'm going to have to find a way to filter the questions. And one way that I'm going to filter the questions is probably if we have any super chats, we're going to go and prioritize those. So just keep in mind, first time I'm in the studio today, because it just feels like a new beginning. It feels like the first day of school. We're getting the studio in San Francisco fired up. So it's the first time this season, not just today. I'm just thinking about how we're going to try to operate as efficiently as possible this season. And I want to maintain as much interactivity as possible. But I also do recognize through the first few uploads that we've put up, the first few reactions, I think things are going to be really big this year. There's a lot of excitement about the 49ers. So any and all super chats, any and all memberships are welcome. I'm going to try to prioritize those comments. You know, somebody like Joe is a member. You could see his membership logo right by his name. So we're going to prioritize those and the super chats over the course of this year to maintain some organization in our comment section. Could have a members only chat. Yes, we're going to have members only chats. We're going to have members only videos. We're going to have early members releases, members only kind of meeting rooms that I promised once a month. All that's going to be coming here over the course of the 2025 season. We will prioritize members. Yes, we're doing our best as we get going here for what should be a fun ride. What's going on with CJ West? Got a question? Here's what's going on with CJ West. He's got a really good looking get off. Number 99. That's Bryce Huff on the left, CJ West on the right. I think West is looking good at practice. Now, remember that the pads come on Monday, not tomorrow, Monday. So guys like CJ West, guys like Michael Williams, guys like Alfred Collins, it gets real for them in a couple days. The first little block, that was warm up. I'm really grateful about how excited fans have been over the course of the past 3 days. but that nothing compared to what we're about to experience. When the pads come on, especially for a team that's trying to restock its defensive line, that's when the real football begins. That's when the real, it's going to be the physicality can actually come to play. And that's going to be starting on Monday. So somebody like CJ West, he's got such violent hands. He's got such a big frame. The get off looks fine to me based on the video that I just played. We could finally see true violence from CJ West. Now we can't see him throwing people to the ground because that's not allowed yet. Maybe the preseason will bring that for CJ West, but we can begin to experience the essence of trench warfare once the pads come on Monday. James says that was a hell of a vacation. Can I ask you how much did the trip cost? Well, let me just tell you this. Airline points and a good credit card, not to rack up debt, but to build points over the years, that helps a lot. I tried to hack the travel system as much as I possibly can. And this, I swear this is not a credit card commercial, but the Chase Sapphire Reserve is a really, really good credit card with a lot of nice perks. Also, having status with United helped a lot for our trip. I haven't tallied up how much everything cost or, all that kind of stuff, but I can tell you that travel is a lot more accessible if you play the system right. If you want me to make dedicated travel videos talking about how to most efficiently use the system, maybe I'll do that. I think that's a big niche on YouTube, but here we'll talk about the 49ers, maybe with a few travel backdrop videos. Do we have status with the royal family? I don't know. My wife might. She's a big Kate Middleton fan, and she got to see Kate Middleton in person. That was really cool at Wimbledon. At Wimbledon. That was a nice little finale for our trip. Planned and coordinated. Yes, just like I think the 49ers defense is going to be more planned and coordinated this year with Robert Saleh back as the defensive coordinator. Back to the top of the show here. Those of you who are just joining, the 49ers are going to see Ricky Pearsall returning tomorrow. Ricky Pearsall, who has been looking fast, but not working with the team at practice. He's been working off on the side. He's got one of those catapult vests on that's measuring the miles per hour. He has hit his speed metrics, and he's going to be ready to go for practice tomorrow. That is what Kyle Shanahan said earlier this week. So the Ricky Pearsall return is upon us. The 49ers have tried out 3 offensive tackles and 2 edge rushers today. That's per Aaron Wilson. The offensive tackles are Cam Fleming, Connor Galvin, and Lucas Niang. Cam Fleming is a Stanford product, won a couple Super Bowls with the Patriots, most recently with the Broncos. Then there's Trevis Gibson and Jalen Allen, a couple edge rushers whom the 49ers have worked out. Now we can speculate about why they're working these players out. One possible reason is that Andre Dillard, his return has been pushed back a little bit. But again, I have to underline every single time I'm speculating so you don't start thinking that I'm speaking fact here. We don't know. Kyle Shanahan is going to speak tomorrow, so we'll have a nice update for you after Kyle Shanahan does talk regarding the 49ers injury situation. So buckle your seatbelts. Tomorrow is going to be a nice update on the 49ers injury situation. Remember, we need to figure out what's wrong, if anything, with Renardo Green. I know he limped off after the last PBU yesterday. Maybe he'll be fine. Maybe he'll miss some time. We've got to figure out how long somebody like Jacob Cowing is going to be out. I think we'll get an update on that tomorrow from Kyle Shanahan. We have to figure out why they worked out 3 offensive tackles and 2 edge rushers. So I think that we're going to get all of that information over the course of the next 24 hours. 24 hours from now, it's going to be 4 p.m. on a Sunday. Practice will be over. Shanahan's press conference will be in the books, and many of our questions will be answered. But the good news is that I can answer your questions right now. 49ers Q&A resumes. Adrian said, if Nick Martin balls out in the preseason, it's his job. Yes, but remember, it's tough for rookies. Don't put that much on rookies. If he surprises everybody and is just awesome earlier than you would expect, then sure, he's going to be a starting linebacker, the third linebacker for the 49ers. But it's not, or maybe you're talking about the second linebacker role for D. Winters. It's so much easier said than done. Right now, obviously, Warner's the one. Winters is the leader, clear leader, inside track to be linebacker number 2. And it's actually Luke Gifford who's getting the first team snaps at linebacker 3. It's going to take a lot for a rookie like Nick Martin to show enough to even be the 3 by the time that this season starts. Last year, Malik Mustafa was impressive as hell in training camp and in the preseason, but he didn't earn that starting job at safety until a few weeks into the regular season. So it's not a quick thing for rookies in this league. You don't want it to be that quick of a thing for rookies in this league. Now, there are a few spots where the 49ers are going to have to get rookie contributions early on. That was just part of the deal of how this offseason worked. But I think that those are more likely to come up front along the defensive line. And those can happen in more of a rotation than the linebacker situation dictates. At linebacker, you've got 3 guys, and unless somebody gets hurt, those are the 3 guys that are out there. You're not rotating linebackers like you rotate defensive linemen. Shout out from my hometown of Visalia. Hello to Marcos, who is back in Visalia. I could see a Nick Bosa jersey in that little avatar. Thank you, Marcos. Hello to everybody in Visalia. Hopefully it's not too hot back home. I think that it's been a bit milder, if I understand. My parents still live back down in Visalia, but I haven't been out there in a couple months now. What's my projected ceiling for Guerrero this year? Statistically, it's really hard because it's going to depend on McCaffrey's health. You would hope that McCaffrey's available all season. If Guerendo's a running back 2 all season, I think the ceiling for him would be probably 500 rushing yards. The question is, how many receiving yards can he put up on top of that? Because we know that he pairs really well with Brock Purdy out of the backfield. I still remember the wheel route they ran to Isaac Guerendo last year. That was just a thing of beauty. We've featured that a few times on the show. He could put up some numbers. You know, he hurt his knee to close the season, was carted off the field over there in Arizona. Kyle Shanahan said this week that he was very, very pleased with how Isaac Guerendo attacked his rehab. So it's one of those things where you have something bad happen to you, but so much of life, and especially NFL football, is how do you respond to the adversity when it does come? Because it's going to come. There's no way you could stop the adversity from hitting, especially in a violent league like the NFL. And the 49ers are really thrilled with how Isaac Guerendo handled the adversity of that Week 18 injury. Supposedly, he attacked the rehab. He's the clear number 2. He's right there behind Christian McCaffrey for the 49ers. Lisa from Fresno says that it's been oddly cooler. Thank you, Lisa. Appreciate that. That's awesome. Hope it stays that way down in the Central Valley. I know how hot it can get at this time of the year. Michael Williams going under the radar? I don't know. I see him every day out at practice, maybe in chat rooms and in online discussion. Are people not talking about him? To me, he stands out because of the wingspan. Trent Williams was talking him up the other day. I think Michael Williams is one of those guys that has all the physical tools needed to be a really good player in the NFL. So I don't know why he'd go under anybody's radar. Seems a little bit foolish to me, but who knows? The media works in funny ways. Bosa over or under 14 sacks? I'm not good at these. There's so many different factors at play, right? Bosa had over 14 a couple seasons ago. 2022 was the year that he just went crazy with all the sacks. What was it? Was it 15, 14 and a half? He had a lot of sacks. He's got a bookend this year in Bryce Huff for the pass rushing downs. That helps. But you never know how opponents are going to play the 49ers. They're just going to double Bosa and let Huff get all the sacks. That's why I like to look at pressures more than sacks anyway. So I'm going to decline in my answer to that question because I have no idea. Too many variables for me. Leave the betting, the over under stuff to those of you who are experts on that kind of stuff. Curtis has become a new member. Thank you, Curtis. Awesome. So Curtis will get early access to a lot of our exclusive content. And he's just supporting the channel. That's the big thing, like supporting the channel. That means a lot. So thank you to Curtis. Will Purdy break the 49ers passing record again? These are all kinds of over-under questions. I don't know, guys. I really don't know. Passing yardage depends on so many factors, including some that you don't necessarily want to go in a certain direction. Usually guys that throw for a ton of yards, they're on a team with a bad defense because they have to just keep on throwing, or a team that's behind. So to me, rating and less rating, more like EPA, QBR, those are the stats that are a little bit more important to me than just raw passing yardage. Will the 49ers stop the run more efficiently this year? Well, they better. If they don't, then the season's over before it even begins. That's the main reason why they decided to can the previous staff or previous defensive coordinator and bring in Robert Saleh. They've got to get that run defense better. Absolutely critical for the 49ers. All right, everybody, thanks for watching. This has been a really fun 51 minutes. 49ers work out a bunch of linemen. Ricky Pearsall is returning tomorrow. You guys are the best. Turn on the notification button. This is it. This was the first show from the new San Francisco studio, or it's not new. We fired the studio back up. I might have been out of focus to begin the video. I apologize. It's part of restarting everything. So hopefully you guys will tolerate it. We'll talk to you guys very, very soon.